tense moments at the end as Archie kept, kind of closing in, Archie Miller from Indiana. So, closed, and it looked like we were going to win. They didn't announce it until yesterday at 10 a.m. officially. But I've got my Simmons Center shirt on today, representing the charity that actually put so much work into the groundwork as far as actually getting the votes. And I'm not a real social media guy, and this whole thing played out on social media, so that was a little bit difficult of a challenge. And the athletic marketing guys here were terrific, and BYU TV and broadcasting here were tremendous. So it was a real team effort, but I'm excited and just want to thank every person who voted. And I don't know how many times you voted, but it was amazing as we went through the 10 or 12 days when we got to the Final Four, where people actually believed that we could do this, because we finished that round on that last day with the Gonzaga home game, where we were in first place going into the Final Four. And it was a community, a national effort, from people, friends and relatives from all over the country were voting. Not only our friends and relatives, but friends of all the team members. Marnie Hassan from the Simmons Center, she kind of, took the whole thing, kind of as a personal challenge to get it done. So we're just grateful to so many people. The LDS Philanthropies with Jim and Garrett, my son, he jumped into social media for a couple of weeks. Now I got to get him out of it again. It just wastes too much of his time. But it was. And it's just a tremendous accomplishment for our community, for our school, for the sport, the Cougar Nation altogether. So I appreciate all the help, and look forward to then a few hours later we got another game, which was awesome, a chance to play in the NIT. And it'll make 13 straight years where this season we'll get to play the game and end the season in a locker room. Hopefully it's a locker room in New York at Madison Square Garden, in the championship game. But it felt kind of weird yesterday, wondering if that season was going to end with all of us sitting by our TVs. So that's a great opportunity for us to keep playing.
What's that moment like for you emotionally? Because you're one, hoping to get in, and then two, you're seeing who you're playing and the matchup, and I'm sure the wheels start spinning about Stanford.
Yeah, it's such a yesterday, every emotion, I could probably go through all 13 over the course of the time we've been here. And this one felt pretty similar to the very first one that we got, when we were lined up with Houston and got in and didn't know for sure if it was going to happen. And the week was long, and a lot of things happened in a lot of games that kind of kept pushing us away from the cut line. And so it ended up we got in, and we got a game that the travel is familiar. We go to the Bay Area quite a bit, and we'll get a good practice in today, and excited to go.
At this point, how much do you know about Stanford basketball version 2017-18?
Yeah, we know quite a bit, actually. We had 3 or 4 games that we got last night. We were able to go through them, and it's there's a couple players that are still in the program that we played 4 years ago when we were over there. Reed Travis is their main scorer, leading guy, and he was there, and he's he looks like a much more polished Mark Madsen. No offense to Mark. This kid is big and strong and physical, and he's got a real offensive game to him, not only at the rim, but 8 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, can hit a three. So that'll be a real challenge for us. And we'll continue to get this game plan put together and have our guys ready to go on Wednesday.
How'd you feel coming out of the West Coast Conference tournament about how you did in that tournament? Because I know you wanted to get Tuesday, you want to win, but how'd you feel about that experience as a whole in Vegas?
Well, I think that, it takes – because when you leave the tournament and you haven't won it, especially when you get to the championship game, there's so much emotion, and it's disappointment, and because that's what you needed to do to get your number one goal, which is to get to the NCAA tournament, and so then you come back and you get you guys in the gym and you try to deal with their emotion and how they feel, how to work out, and, with just kind of getting your bodies and your mind right. And then we practice on Saturday, and our guys were really good in practice, but those are, they're just tense moments because you don't know if you're going to play again. I mean, I had one of the guys ask one of my assistants, "Why are we practicing? We don't even know if we're going to play or not." So
Wow.
so you got guys from every, and other guys in there just, laying it all out there in practice, just knowing that in their minds there'll be another day. But it's that's the challenge right now because this is not what we had all planned for. And so when you ask me what our emotion was leaving Las Vegas, we're probably pretty down. All the guys were probably pretty down.
BYU basketball head coach Dave Rose with us on BYU Sports Nation. Let's go to our Twitter question of the day for you, Coach. What is your reaction to the postseason bids, not just for BYU, but the entirety of the West Coast Conference?
Well, I think the first thing is that I'm really excited for the 4 seed from Gonzaga. Okay, the fact that there's a model in place in the league to where you can, actually get in that NCAA tournament with a bid that allows you, hopefully to advance, maybe even two games before you become the underdog. But because we went for years in the Mountain West Conference where, the winner of that was an 8 or a 9 or a 10. I mean, there was some issues there, and this, is still really positive with the fact that, you can get to that, to that level in the conference. We had a 3 seed, our last year in the Mountain West Conference, and so. That's, I think, something really positive. The thing that's really kind of discouraging is that you take a team that wins 28 games and, they're not only in the NIT, but they're not even the number 1 seed in the NIT. There were a couple of teams ahead of them. And I think that we've known over the last couple years that, this is going to all be about who you play. Okay? It used to all be about who you beat. But now it's all about who you play.
Which is crazy.
Okay, and so, the challenge will be now is what we can actually get in our preseason. There's also a challenge of maybe eliminating a couple games from the conference schedule and playing an imbalanced conference schedule to give you a couple more games to go and play people. The thing for us personally, we've always kind of been, we're not a 2-for-1 team. We're not a let's just go get bot in a guarantee game. And maybe that has to change a little bit. I've talked to a lot of my buddies who coach in those Power 5 teams, and they're being told by their people to not even try and buy these games, so just play Power 5 teams in the preseason. And I don't think that's going to really hold all the way through. But there's a line being drawn there where don't let these other guys even in our gyms, even if you think you can beat them.
Well then.
So that's that'll be tough, but I do believe that the message to us in our league right now is it's about who you play. So go play some people, and maybe you got to change your philosophy a little bit.
That's really interesting. St. Mary's twice in the last 3 years has encountered this now. What was it like emotionally for you to beat St. Mary's and essentially maybe knock them out of the NCAA tournament? Because that affects not only the league, but a piece of the pie that BYU gets too.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time, you're just so excited to win. I
Right.
mean, that's what it's all about. And you start thinking about what ifs, and if Mark really wanted to help the league, he would have suspended 4 or 5 of his guys. And, so those are just dumb questions.
Yeah. It was worth the 170,000 or whatever that you wanted. Yeah, exactly. Okay, now you have Stanford, as you mentioned, and Gonzaga. Okay, Gonzaga's playing in Boise. I mean, if they played the game in Spokane, that'd be the best spot. Boise probably the number 2 spot.
Yeah, and
they got a good chance.
You look a lot of the teams, the higher seeded teams, they're really close to home. I mean, all through that bracket, and there's definitely an advantage. I remember quite a few years ago we played in Lexington. And, we were playing Xavier. And that's
a couple hours away.
Yeah, it's just a car ride away, and so that was a pretty tough environment for a neutral court. So I think that's all kind of become, at one time that was such a hot topic to the committee. I think that's way down the list of priorities now. I think they're really just trying to get what they think are the teams that have played the toughest schedules, played the most, top 50 teams, and it's not even about winning. I mean, a few years ago it was about, hey, how many of those wins do you have? Now it's just what's your record quad one? What's your record quad two? And those are hard games to get for guys that are in our situation, and we're just going to have to go out and really beat the bushes with a different mindset. It was always a home and home. It was always a couple times we talked about 2-for-1s at some places, but now we're maybe just talking about going out there and playing us a one-shot deal for money, and then we'll figure out how we get our home game some other way.
Sure.
Could this affect how you schedule in state too? Because you played a lot of these games, but if you're trying to make the NCAA tournament, maybe that adjusts.
It really does. It makes every opportunity different. And the thing for us right now is we're already booked out a couple years, especially with our MTE tournaments. And so I'm sure that we won't break any contracts, but we will try to add to the games that are available, because that's the challenge. That's kind of the one thing about it is I heard Kermit Davis from Middle Tennessee and Randy last night talk about their reactions to it, and I don't think that there is any guessing anymore. It's not like, well, what how are we keeping score? That's how Randy's biggest deal was. You go back in that back room and how are we keeping score? It's hard to play a game that you don't know how you're keeping score. It's pretty obvious. You put Syracuse in. You put Oklahoma in. It used to be how are you doing the last 10 games of the season?
You can lose 11 of 15 and get in now. That's what we learned yesterday.
So there's a lot of things I think that were given to all of us. We don't have any questions anymore. I think we know what the answer is, and good luck trying to make that work for every team out there.
Dave Rose with us on BYU Sports Nation. There are some new rule changes implemented.
This will be really interesting.
Okay, longer
really
3-point line. Yeah. The lane is widened. The shot clock resets to 20 seconds after an offensive rebound. How do you feel about all those?
I think it's very similar to the international rules that we play when we go on these international trips, the FIBA rules, and the quarters. I think I kind of like. We'll see. But I liked last year when we reset the fouls at the 10-minute mark. I thought that was really silly that they would do it live. We wouldn't even take a break. They'd just reset the clock. That was pretty interesting. Wait till dead ball. But now they got that right, so we're going to the quarters, and they'll reset the fouls. My guys always think they should shoot way further behind the 3-point line than they really do, so we'll see how they do now. That 20-footer is not going to work anymore. It's just a 2-pointer, so we'll get that thing back a little bit. The lane will be really interesting to me, especially with a big team like Stanford. This is a big physical group of guys. That front line is tremendous. They're a great offensive rebounding team, and we'll see with the space if maybe it helps our ability to get to the basket, to create a little bit more at the rim, and just open the lane up a little bit more. I don't think the shot clock will be that big a deal on the offensive rebounds. But it's exciting to keep playing, and it'll be exciting to walk in our Marriott Center today, because we had to get all this set up to get it all put taped up, and so we can practice today and tomorrow in here, and so that'll be interesting to see. And usually when these things get implemented into the NIT, it's not too far down the road till we actually see them. And I think the lane line especially, I don't know about the 3-point line, but I think the lane line and the quarters are something that might happen pretty quick.
BYU Stanford Wednesday, 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain on ESPNU. You can listen to that live on BYU Radio as well, Coach. This has been a fascinating conversation. Always great to talk to you, and congratulations once again on the Simmons Center win.
All right, thanks a lot. And thank you so much, Cougar Nation, everybody who jumped in there and voted. And sorry for bugging you for so long. And my wife this morning, she was deleting all the texts that she had made to all the people. She was there for about an hour. So we really do. Thank you so much. It's an awesome to win, and look forward to getting that check to the Simmons Center.
Amen.